The 10th mantra, Anyadev Bahur Vidyaya Anyada Ahura Vidyaya. The wise have declared that the result of Vidya and Avidya are distinct and different. Thus have we heard from the wise who have expounded that to us. Avidya, we've given two interpretations. The first, we said avidya is any activity that you acquire the stain from the world, you accumulate desires, you leave mental impressions. When you do an activity, the mental impressions after the actions creates fresh desires and vasanas. So when you are performing the activity, when the vasanas and desires are fed, you devolve, you are subjected to this continuous cycle of birth and death. That is avidya, ignorance. You're bound to the world. But those who are disinterested in the world, I tell you, you must do so much tapas that the world doesn't interest you. It's not easy to reach that state where the best things in the world doesn't charm you. The best of materiality, the most tempting sensuality of the world doesn't interest you. Not that you do not know it, you know it, and yet you're not interested in it. You say, pass. I have got no time for you. It shall wait. You wait there. So you genuinely rise above all that the world has to offer. Genuinely are not interested all that the world has to offer. Then you come into the realm of Vidya. That is when you are pursuit of the higher. You pursue the self, then you are getting rid of the desires and vasanas. Then you would be liberated soon enough from the cycle of birth and death. This is Vidya. So one interpretation is avidya is when you are bound to the worldly activities, when you acquire the stain, which is the desires, the mental impressions is nothing but the desires and vasanas. This desires and vasanas are responsible for your devolution, which we are describing the devolution as being bound to the cycle of birth and death. It's just an interpretation. How do you know you're evolving or devolving? One way of measuring your evolution and devolution is your vasanas. How many vasanas and desires you have. And how do you know how many vasanas or desires you have? Whether you have the vasana at all. Just once in a while go into the marketplace. As we learned from Kabirji, Kabira Khada Bazaar Mein. You also go and stand in the marketplace, you know how your mind behaves. So avidya is measured with the desires The more the desires you have, the more you're bound to the cycle of birth and death. Once you shift your attention to the higher, the desires drop off. The objects of the world lose their charm because you have no value for them. You may possess it, you may enjoy it, but you have no value for it. They have lost the charm because you have dropped the desire. So an object has a charm only if you have the desire within. Remember that. An object charms you, tempts you, and distracts you. The three terms, Aram. An object of the world only has a charm for you, tempts you, and distracts you only if you have a desire with it. The moment the desire in you, even if it's 50% diluted, 20% diluted, instantly the charm for the object drops away. The object to that extent doesn't distract you. To that extent, it's not a distraction anymore. And I'm telling you through experience. This happens in percentage. When the desire for that is no more, that which become an obstacle is no more an impediment. So it's not outside, it's inside. And to that extent, you seek the self. Because you have desires you have to deal with. We all have desires we got to deal with. Now, in the second interpretation is any activity, whether be it worldly activity or be it spiritual activity, which is vidya in the context, a spiritual pursuit of the karma, bhakti, jnanam, the three primary spiritual pursuits, the three spiritual paths, along with any other mundane worldly activity, when it is pursued as an end in itself, he calls it as a vidya. This is what the ninth mantra stated. It's compatible to what the mantra 9 is stating, this interpretation. Now, but those who pursue anything as a means to an end, that in all sense is vidya, is knowledge, because it only leads you to the higher. It ensures that you don't develop an attachment to the pursuit, to the path, to the activity. So you're very objective. You do an action because it has to be done. That's all. Beyond that, there is no interest. I have to associate with you. What is the object of my association? I'm interested in you as long as you take me to my goal. Reddy Garu, why am I interested in associating with you? Because our association will lead me to my goal. Tomorrow you become a distraction in my pursuit of the goal. I will silently say, it was lovely knowing you, sir. Thank you very much. Because you are a distraction to my goal. I will no more associate with you. Not that I like you any less thereafter, but there's no enough sattva in you to remind me of my goal. I will not associate with you. Why should I associate with the tamasic person, sir? By mistake, the group should not mistake that I'm saying you're tamasic. Chumma, just example, sir. Even in my dream, I will not say that, sir. In my sleep, I will not say that.
Yes, Guruji. I think we need to connect till the objectivity is going to be add value. The moment the value addition is going to be diluting our focus and energy, I think there's no attachment. It's simply no attachment. Detach.
So there's no attachment with the world, but the only the point I'm making, sir, is that you will relate with the world to the extent it takes you to the goal. Beyond that, there is no other interest. Isn't it?
Yes, yes.
That is what it means to an end.
Means to end.
Means to an end means identifying with something to the extent it takes you to the goal. The moment it becomes an impediment, you would say, I've got nothing to do with it. I will not, you will say, no, thank you very much.
But this also gives some sort of an impression to the worldly affairs that you are selfish, because you have been associated to the extent where you really read it, then slowly getting distracted. But the intention behind it is detaching, not distracting. The intention being detaching is that we should not get dilute our focus towards the objectivity which is being put in place. Maybe that has not been understood by the people. When you say that, yeah, you associate with the people and start dissociating once your objectivity has been met.
Not, sir, your objective is to attain the goal. And here you have conceived the most loftiest of goals, which is self-realization. And wanting to attain self-realization is not being selfish.
Yes.
Even though you need to do it for your own spiritual well-being.
Yeah.
Doing that, in order to sustain that, you have to sacrifice everything else.
Yes.
And that's not being selfish, please. So unless and until you have that fervor, unless until you have that clear focus that that my job is to march relentlessly towards my goal. It's like a soldier marching towards his goal. He has to march forward, that's all, because he's got orders. You got to march. I've got that orders from my own mumukshatva. The marching orders I've got is from the desire for liberation is strong. Mumukshatva is the desire to liberate. So I've got the orders from the desire within. I got to march towards it. All I need to do is ensure nothing stops that pursuit. So I still associate. In fact, the next mantra, I'm just trying to lead to the next mantra. That's what he spells it out there. Very, very soon we'll get into it. So whatever even though our pursuit, sir, even though the goal is transcendental, the journey is in the terrestrial, sir.
Yes,
please
good.
Understand that.
Yes, yes, yes. Good.
We are not in the realm of transcendental yet.
Yes.
We are pursuing the transcendental, yet our pursuit is in the terrestrial. So how do we carry on in the terrestrial realm? And terrestrial is, in the terms of the text, the terrestrial is avidya. So we are only trying to understand how to operate in avidya so that we reach vidya.
Vidya.
Isn't it? That's the whole thing. If we don't know how to operate in avidya, we are stuck to avidya itself.
Yeah.
So it's like we have to go through, like you have a four-wheel drive, you're off-road, and these four-wheel drives are designed to handle the off-road terrain. But let's say you have very slushy area and it's full of murk and dirt. You have no choice to pass through it, but you are confident enough that you have to pass through it and you will not get stuck in it, isn't it?
Yes.
So the slush of the world is avidya. You have to go through it and not get stuck in it. And the sad part is, the reality is,
we more get entangled with that.
we already stuck in it.
Yes.
So we are looking for a rescue vehicle to come and throw a string and pull us out.
We stuck in before we reach the slush and after.
No, not before the slush. You have reached the slush and you got stuck in it, sir.
Even we come out of it also, we keep thinking about so much of mud to the car or so much of wet things that.
Oh my God.
that state will continue for some time.
Yo. So difficult to remove the slush, isn't it? It's everywhere. I remember other day I connected with Reddy Garu and asked him, how come Reddy Garu, I haven't seen you. They said I was out station and things. And he was telling me, Guruji, oh, this 3 days of classes, helped me in a way. He said, helps me to clean up all the slush and prepares me for all that the world has to throw. Am I right, sir?
Yes, absolutely, Guruji. It filters away all the toxins.
Oh, I didn't know that, sir.
It's like you take a lot of care about the body to get toxins away. So these 3 days is basically
mental toxin.
Toxins away from that.
Absolutely. So thank you, Ji. So the objective is to get into it as a means to an end, and that's when you practice vidya. So the two interpretations we gave ourselves, I've just reiterated, because then the next mantra, when we get into, helps us understand the context. Okay, mantra 11, please. Vidyam cha yastadvedo bhayago saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya mritamashnute. Vidyam cha yastadvedo bhayago saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya mritamashnute. He who knows these two, ubhayam saha, these two, he who knows these two both together. Which are the two? Avidya, ignorance, and vidya, knowledge. Together, ubhayam saha. Having overcome death through avidya, attains immortality through vidya. In the language, look at the language he speaks, the authoritative language. You fellows figure out what that means. I don't care. So they are not bothered. He who knows these two, we already know, isn't it? Since we have mentioned last week, we already reclarified what the two vidya and avidya means from different standpoints. He who knows these two, avidya and vidya, together. Now, why he says together is the statement which I just mentioned. We need to know vidya and avidya because the entire activity is in the realm of avidya. We're all the time operating in the realm of avidya. So you need to know both concurrently. You must be aware of avidya. You must be aware of vidya. Now, what is the realm of avidya? How should we operate in the realm of avidya? The spirit with which we operate in the realm of avidya is you just go about doing your karyam karma. Remember in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, in the 6th chapter, the first mantra, the first verse, he says, karyam karma karoti sa sannyasi sa yogi na niragnir na chakriyah. And while you do that, you do anashrita karma phalam. You're renouncing the fruits of your action. You're not interested in the fruits of your action. You renounce it totally. You don't care, not bothered. So while you're performing avidya, avidya means you're in the realm of avidya, you do your karyam karma, you do your duties. Now, all of us have got destined duties, don't we? First and foremost, are we doing our duties? Secondly, while we are performing our actions, are we renouncing its fruits? Two simple questions. Am I doing all my duties? Secondly, while I'm performing the duties, am I renouncing its fruits? You're not interested in the results. Whether you are accepted by the world or rejected by the world, am I doing my duty? Or the world doesn't like me, therefore I will not do it. Operating on emotions. Why should the result of your action impair you? Just like a student gets demoralized in spite of the child's best efforts, the child fails in the exam, so doesn't fare well, perhaps. The child gets demoralized. So you do so much as a parent to, the parent will have to go and tell the child, doesn't matter. It's all that the effort that matters. Doesn't matter the result. Just carry on, keep putting the effort. Don't we say that? So at every stage of our life, to shift your focus back on to your dharma, which is your duty, and renounce the fruit. The fruit should not influence your performance of dharma. And that is the spirit with which you act in the realm of avidya. Lakshmi Ma, you are in very pensive mood.
Just reflecting as you talk. Sometimes doubts are cleared as you speak, right? And there are questions that are answered even without asking. So I was just thinking whether I was doing the right thing when you said, am I expecting certain things? So it took me to my own contemplation. Sorry.
I know. It's like in a scene in a movie, somebody is looking suddenly, tongue, that fellow goes off somewhere, So I thought suddenly, where is Lakshmi Ma gone? Suddenly she's transported to her own realm. Therefore, I want to bring you back to the scene,
No, I'm very much in it while
flashback.
I'm relating it.
There's certain flashback going on. No,
I'm relating it to my own journey.
Indeed, absolutely. No, you can't be relating to your neighbor's life. You have to relate to your life, But yes, perhaps leave those moments for later where you really contemplate, But I can think along with you.
What struck me was when you said don't expect the fruits of your actions, right? One thing, you do something, you think that is going to make, you feel it's your obligatory duty, you think that is going to make that person happy. The outcome is happiness for that person. But is expecting that, I was thinking, is also expectation. Because your intent,
we do many a time things to please other people. You don't have to do things just to please or make others happy just for the sake of it. When an action is wrong, you got to say an action is wrong, even if it displeases you.
No, that's not what I meant. I meant I do something, I wish, or I do something, think that will make the outcome of that is that person is going to be happy. But even expecting that person to be happy is expecting a fruit right out of my action.
Absolutely.
But the intent and not the action. The intent is good, but the outcome is beyond me, I suppose. I'm just thinking aloud, Guruji, sorry.
My simple advice is don't complicate it. Too much philosophy also is a problem. Don't overthink it. Simply drop
That's
it.
good.
Simply drop the fruit of action. There is no anxiety to what it. There is great care taken. You're not that you're reckless in your performance of action. Your great care is taken in the action. But once it is done, be disinterested in the fruits. Not that you're reckless while you're acting. It's like you drive rashly and say, oh, I don't care whether I have bumped into other people, whether I have destroyed others' property or I damaged. No, it's not reckless actions. You have done with greatest care. In spite of that, if the results are favorable or unfavorable, don't allow it to affect you. Because you are taking an action and you have taken the best action to only take you to the goal. That's all. There's no other objective, there's no other interest. Whether it's going to please the world or not please the world, it doesn't matter. Now, if the world wants you to do something which is not according to your conscience, would you do it to please the world? Why should you do it? No, if I do something, if it doesn't please the world, so be it. But I have to be true to my conscience. Because this is my action, takes me to my goal. This is Vidya. My avidya action has to take me to Vidya. Now, when does your actions in the realm of avidya take you to Vidya? The question is, when do the actions in the realm of avidya take you to Vidya? I've said, perform your duties, your dharma, and actions which are supported with your conscience alone take you to dharma, alone take you to Vidya, to your goal. You know, in the context, I'm reminded of the famous episode of the two Dwarapalakas, you know, the doorkeepers of Lord Vishnu. And there was a small commotion to very celebrated men, saints. They came to visit Vishnu, but Lord Vishnu was resting, so they were not allowed. And they were offended that how could they be not given the permit to meet the Lord. And the story goes, and they were cursed. And end of it, they had a choice. Either you spend 100 janmas, means 100 times you're born and dead, means 100 births you go through that life as the greatest devotees of the Lord, or you become the 3 janmas worst enemies of the Lord. Means everybody in those 3 janmas will treat you as the worst of sinners. You are a curse on earth, like Ravana. Today, you don't talk Ravana and Kumbhakarna as a wise soul. The moment you take a thought of Ravana and Kumbhakarna, they are worst of human beings, these fellows. You know? Look at Ravana, having everything, he wanted Sita. In Kumbhakarna, he only eats and sleeps. That's all. 6 months he eats, 6 months he sleeps. What sort of a life is that? So you don't hold them in light note, but yet they opted for the 3 births of being the worst enemies. And Setuji will fulfill the other 2 janmas. One is Ravana and Kumbhakarna. Other 2 janmas are Setuji. A little story. I'm very poor at stories. Kamsa and twin brothers, sir. Twin brothers. Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Correct. And there's one more. So what do we learn from this? Sishupala and Dandra Vatra. Is it spelled? Did you type it out right? Padminima? Sishupala and can't hear you.
Dandavatra? Yeah.
Dandavatra.
Dandavatra.
Right. That is a matter of information. What we need to understand is what we need to understand. RPG, whether you are liked by everybody or hated by everybody. 3 janmas they chose. They chose the path to be hated. Why did they choose the path of hatred?
I guess they wanted was it the fastest or the direct path to self-realization?
3 janmas is the fastest. They had 100 janmas.
Right.
Doesn't
They're like, we'll
matter
take
what-
that, but we want to get there first.
Correct. Doesn't matter
We'll put
what
up the
the world
sacrifice.
thinks. Yes, absolutely. So what they, so it's, no, so apparently, which is such a wrong thing, takes you to salvation. So you see this, but that doesn't mean you opt for that. Doesn't mean you end up, oh, thank you, sir. I was also wanting to do many things. Now I've got the license and the sanction, and I can justify and do whatever I want because I
Right,
also
right.
want to get to moksha. So don't do that, huh?
No.
Milima, if he does that, directly communicate with me. I'll share my direct number with you. If he's up to any nonsense, mischievous things, I'll also join the party of giving it back to him. Okay. All right. Wonderful. Yes, Haresh.
Guruji?
Yeah.
Guruji, I get
I
the
know
part.
I know the difficulty you have gone through, the challenge you have. We have all sensed it, Harish.
Yes. I'm following, I'm obliging to the instructions.
Oh my God, what all you have to go through, huh? Yes, Harish.
Guruji, I totally understand when we do our dharma, we renounce the fruit and drop the fruit of action. Guruji, that many times is the easy part. But the difficult part is, Guruji, when we are dealing with the world. I've noticed a pattern over the last 10 or 15 years. There's a tremendous lack of gratitude from the world. And there is an expectation. It's come to a point where the world expects you to perform for them or for their benefit, and they even have the audacity to even ask you for doing things for them. So dropping the fruit of action is the easy part, Guruji, but when there's a lack of gratitude or a complaint or they're not happy with your performance, it demotivates the person from thinking along those lines, because you're doing it as the right thing to do. But when the recipient is always complaining and is constantly selfish, how do we keep the spirit up of just drop the fruit regardless? It's quite difficult, Guruji. It's quite challenging because it disheartens you when you're doing it with actually no expectation. And you're giving with no expectation. But the recipients in the world are just constantly complaining and demanding and asking. It's become like they feel they're entitled to get it from you. And that's it's very hard then to have the concept of drop the fruit of action. You ask yourself, why am I doing it? Who am I doing it for? What is the purpose of it? I don't know, maybe it's the individual shouldn't expect it literally, and the gratitude part doesn't matter. It's not that I'm expecting gratitude, but they come with the lack of gratitude attitude. So I just wondering it's sometimes very hard, Guruji, to renounce the fruit, because you're doing it, but yet you're being complained upon. So it's a juggling act. And I want to know how to overcome this part.
See, to the extent you are affected, to that extent, there is an expectation, there is an anxiety, there is an element of interest in the fruit. Even if you as you rightfully rationalize. You have done something. Have you done it out of your duty bound, or have you done it out of emotion or a favor? If you have done your duty as a father, as a husband, as a manager, or as a citizen, or as a neighbor, you've done your duty. You've done you ought to do. Now, whether the world is grateful to you or not is not your prerogative. It is not for you to sit and claim or talk about it. It is not you have no right over the fruits of action. You have no right. So you don't talk about it. Whether the world is grateful to you or it's unmindful to your sacrifices or does it glorify it, it is not your business. So don't talk about it. It's like you're talking about something your neighbor has done or a stranger has done. You go and tell him, he says, mind your own business. You have no right interfering with my life, isn't it?
Yes.
If I want to wish and if I want to party or no party, what have you got to do with it? Isn't it? In that sense, the words the Gita uses, no right. You have no right over the fruit. It doesn't belong to you. So you're talking about something which is not your prerogative. It's not, doesn't fall in your purview of your life. The problem is you are developing an unnecessary attachment to it. So therefore, we are told, just do your duty, just do your dharma. Now, how to get onto that is actions done towards an ideal. So what inspires you is the ideal. Not contrary to that is actions driven on operating on your desires and emotions, where the world must satisfy you. If the world satisfies you, you are so elated, you overdo it. If the world doesn't satisfy you, you don't do it. In fact, you underperform. That is an emotional fluctuation you go through. Vis-a-vis an action driven by an ideal, by a goal. So there are two different parts, Harish. One is an action driven by a goal. Thereafter, it's your duty. You do it as a dharma. And while you do it as a duty, you give your heart and soul. You do everything. But if they're ungrateful, so be it. It's not of my. It's not for me to think about it, because I have faith in the law of karma, which is as you sow, so you reap. So nobody can take away the fruits of my labor. But if I don't deserve it, it's because of certain actions I've done before. One is do your dharma. Don't be interested in the fruits. Secondly, if I am not today, let's say, Harish, you have done something out of great love, you've done something to somebody. And going by the example, somebody is ungrateful to you. Now, why is that happening to you? Simple reason is, pardon me for saying that, because you deserve it. Because you have done something perhaps in the past, unknowingly. Perhaps you have been extremely ungrateful to somebody who has done a favor to you. Possible. Pardon me again for saying that.
Yes.
But how do you rationalize with it? If somebody is ungrateful to you, is the world is just dishing out something which I have done to it and I deserve it. So let me accept it gracefully and move on. So you rationalize with it rather than getting demoralized and getting affected by it. Because nothing in life happens without the cause and effect. So whatever be it, the fruit of action should not dampen your action. Should not dampen the spirit to act. So continue to act. So what inspires you to act? It is a goal. So when you have a very clear goal and my actions are towards that goal, I keep doing it. I keep sowing fresh seeds so they keep reaping fruits or favorable fruits because I'm performing actions in the right spirit. At the same time, the fruits of my past actions, the karma, what I've done in the past, the fruits of that keep coming. I don't get affected by it. So actually I'm saying two things here. In the present, you perform the action inspired by the goal and don't be affected by the fruits of your action. The fruits of your action are nothing but the result of your past karmas. In fact, the words of Christ where he says, resist not evil. When he says resist not evil, evil refers to the fruits of your past actions, which are not favorable to you. He says, don't resist it. What do? Gracefully receive it and accept it as if it is my own karma. I've deserved it, I got it, I accept it. No complaints. So if the world is ungrateful to you, you're only being dished out what you have dished out to the world. Accept it. So what do? Don't be affected by it. Carry on doing your duties. Because what I sow today, I will reap tomorrow. So the only way you rationalize what comes your way as fruits of your past actions, which I can't do anything about it. Can I do anything of what has been done?
No.
I can't do anything. You can't. So what can you do? Gracefully accept it. Don't sit and scrutinize. Why is that person ungrateful to you? You are getting end of the day because you deserve it. Who does it? Why it's happening? It's not for you to worry about. I deserve it. Just swallow it. Just gulp it down. It will give you a little comfort. If you start scrutinizing why and how, and it becomes very uncomfortable. So just swallow it and say, it's my karma, accept it. Anything in life, isn't it karma? It's a law of karma. They just come for, okay, you may not understand it, but just, okay, oh, wow, okay. The law is working. It can't go wrong. Accept it. We'll stop. Move on. So accent shifts back to action than the fruits. The goal is to get back to action. Don't worry of the fruits. The fruits you're getting because of the past. You can't do anything about it. But at least be concerned of what you can do now, which is your current action. Otherwise, we are unnecessarily doing a post-mortem report all the time. Post-mortem is done just to get an act and a state of affairs. Beyond that, you can't do anything to an act. It's already done, isn't it? If you can learn something from that, learn from it. But other than that, don't need to waste much time on it. Even if you do, you wouldn't know much about it because it's complex. Your past is too complex to be understood. I'm not talking of past Janma, I'm only talking this Janma. Past Janma, God knows. This Janma only so much is done. So why to go to the past birth? All okay, Resh?
Yes, it's okay. But I have one more question, if it's okay.
Not okay. Okay.
Thank you. Guruji, I completely
RPG is saying, why God, this fellow. No, please, you better don't hold it in your heart, RPG, you better spell it out. I know you must have, whatever you thought, be very honest and upright and spell it out.
No, I just have sympathy for my brother in Hong Kong.
And nothing for me, huh? I know. Okay. I'm getting a clear picture now. Okay.
No, not at all, Guruji. Not like that at all.
No, I'm just kidding. Absolutely. Perfect. Yes. Yes, Harish.
Guruji, I thank you for clarifying. It gives me full clarity now because this has been on my mind for quite some time. And I understand the fruits we're getting is because of the past, and we have to perform current action for the better future. Guruji, I want to ask that while I got everything you said very clearly, so we continue doing our dharma. without any expectation of the fruits. We have no claim on the fruits. But when we're dealing with different individuals with different personalities, when we're doing our duties and dharmas, do we do it, I mean, do we do it same across for everybody, or do we, like, my question is, do I give myself indiscriminately to anybody, or do I just do the bare minimum as required in certain aspects of certain individuals, or just follow standards giving or who I am as a person? Do I follow a standard level, or do I gauge the individual and do for some a high level and some a bare necessity? Again, this is a question from the first question. I understood the first answer very well.
It's as much you're duty bound. Are you in any way duty bound in upbringing somebody in your community? Let's say there's a very loving child in your own community where your children have your children's friends, okay? Are you in any way bound to educate and bring them up?
No.
You have the same love. You love the child, cute boy, lovely boy, but you say, I am not in no way obliged to do anything for the child. But let's say tomorrow a child falls down or child is in some kind of emergency or danger. Would you wouldn't walk away and say, oh, it's not my child, how would I care? No, you are obliged. Being, let's say, the only adult there to care for the child, it becomes your duty to rush him to the hospital, give the medical care, whatever is required. It becomes your dharma, duty.
Yes.
But you don't have any duty to bring up the child or look into the child's interests and needs. So it's having that acting on obligation, that is adopting action with obligation. So you do action where you intellect clearly understands you have a duty. And once you have a duty, you're bound by the duty. That's all. So you don't operate vis-a-vis you operating on emotions. The opposite of that is you get entangled. I like him, I'll do more to him. I don't like him, I disregard him. You're not acting on likes and dislikes here.
Yeah, this is the big folly for us. We sometimes overlap the obligation, the duty versus likes and dislikes. We muddle it up sometimes. That's our own flaw. We have to segregate that going forward.
Constantly, yes. So at every time,
this is the hard part.
No, that is the challenge. But you got to use your intellect at all times. You know?
Yes.
And once the intellect lapses, then you fall a prey to emotions. Okay.
Yes, Guruji. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So he who knows these two, that is avidya, ignorance, vidya, knowledge. So you are operating in the realm of avidya with the only objective of getting to vidya, which is the goal. So your sole interest, your only objective is to get to your goal. So though, Reddigar, I was mentioning earlier, though you are engaged in the terrestrial realm, your eye is only to get to the transcendental. I am operating here, but how do I operate here? Though I am operating here with the spirit so that I get to the goal. So whatever I do here is a means to that end. You do it here so that you get there.
So that means something like body is in terrestrial, mind is in transcendent.
Absolutely. A simple question is, where is your heart? Where is your mind? You know. So
Yes.
why? So you are there. So it's not the physicality of it; it's the mentality. Where's the mind that's engrossed? That's what the famous verse of Bhaja Govindam. Do you recall, sir?
No.
Recall the famous words of Bhajagovinda. Anybody recalls the famous words of Adi Shankaracharya? Bhajagovindam says this. It is not the physicality of it. It is where is your mind. Shivaji, Karima, daily நீங்க Bhajagovindam chant பண்றீங்களா? Okay.
Yes,
Start பண்ணுங்க.
Saturdays.
Saturday. இன்னைக்கு Saturday தானே?
இன்னைக்கு. இது
அதுக்காக
முடிஞ்சதுக்கு
கேட்டேன்.
அப்புறம் yes. ஆமா.
ஆமா. So இப்போ chant பண்ணுங்க. நான் I'll stop அந்த verse அது அந்த answer. The famous verse is Yogaratova Bhogaratova Sangaratova Sangavihina Yasya Brahmani Ramate Chittam. Ramate Chittam. Ramate is thinking, reveling, the mind reveling. Brahmani, where what's important is your mind reveling in the higher? Doesn't matter whether you're in company, doesn't matter you're in solitude, doesn't matter you're in the spiritual practices, which is yoga, or it doesn't really matter whether you are in bhoga, means you're apparently indulging in the world. You can be in the marketplace. It really doesn't matter, man. What matters is your mind reveling on the truth. That's what Reddiga also said. Where's your mind? Where's your heart? Huh? So, and all
Guruji,
the
I
time.
have a question.
Yes, sir. Don't ask difficult. Simple question.
Very simple question.
Romba nandri, sir.
Do not forget the ultimate goal.
Do not, sorry?
Forget the ultimate goal, which is nothing but realization, moksha, whatever. That is exactly what we have to. We should not forget.
Yeah.
At the same tone, we are saying, do not get attached to the fruits of the action. Are we not? No, we are already saying fix it. Your goal is that. No, we are saying do not attach to the fruits of action. Both are they not? There is not a dichotomy in that. You are saying don't look for the fruits. Then how can you say you look for the realization?
Right. So when we say don't think of the fruit of action, what the fruit of action involves my past. Simple action is, if I earn 1,000 rupees today and I put the 1,000 rupees in the bank balance is not determined by my 1,000 rupees I put today. It's determined by what was the bank balance. I have 10,000 rupees loan. So it will only show minus 9,000. So your life is like a bank balance. Now the question is, what is your balance? Is it credit or debit? That is my past, which I'm carrying along with me all the time. So the past constantly influences and determines the fruits of my action. But it is the goal that determines your performance of action.
Is it not? You are not determining the future. The goal is also future.
One minute, sir. The goal determines the performance of action. So when you're thinking of the performance of action, you're thinking about the future. When you're talking about the fruits of action, you're thinking about the past influencing your action. So there is the difference. Always we say fruits of action belong to the future. I'm not saying fruits of action belong to the future. I'm saying the fruits of action are influenced by the past. That's where I'm approaching. The dichotomy gets clarified here. Is the apparent discrepancy or apparent contradiction is whatever fruits of action, well, obviously the fruits always after the action, which is the future. That's a matter of fact. But when the fruits come to you, it is determined by your own past actions. It is defined by a past. Therefore, don't worry about it.
The only option is hold on to the present.
hold on to the present performance, your action.
Performance. Yeah, that's what it's.
And what
not-
influences your present action?
Yeah.
No,
When you
therefore,
don't
sir,
want to.
Shivaji, therefore, my simple question is, what is it that determines your present performance of action?
Be in that.
Yes, to be in that, what is it that gives you the power? Where the fruits don't affect you.
Only
It is
be
the
in
goal.
action. Yeah.
Yes, sir. What action? It is the actions
Towards
which are
the
driven
goal,
towards the goal, which becomes your
direction.
karyam karma.
Karma.
You know, sir, anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karotiyah. Renounce the fruits and perform karyam. That's all he said.
Perform karma. Be in the present. No,
Action is
oblivious of your outcome. It doesn't matter
absolutely.
what the outcome.
Correct.
Then it's complete.
Yes. So relinquishing the fruit is where you become oblivious. You become disinterested in it. Yeah.
Yeah. That which very clearly says, be in the present. Whatever may be the past, whatever may be the future, it doesn't make any difference. The
Correct.
choice is only to be here, right now with the session, with you, with the text, with the thing.
Correct.
There's no other option. There's nothing else exists. Nothing else matters.
Correct, sir. Absolutely. Sir, Ninga, you're not being very true to the term, sir. You said you're going to ask simple question, I agree, but then you give answer also along with it, sir. No, correct. Your thinking is absolutely right, sir. So just to justify it, or just to reaffirm what I said rather, is that when you're worrying of the fruits, you're dealing with the past that influences. But when you're talking of performance of action, it is the goal that inspires. So you remain in the present, as you rightly said, but perform actions which take you to the goal. So it's the goal that inspires you. Okay. Right, sir? Now, the second half of the verse, the mantra, he says, having overcome death through avidya, avidyaya mrityum tirthva, having crossed mrityum through avidya, vidyaya amrutam attain amrutam through vidya. So you attain immortality through vidya. You overcome death through avidya. So if you apply this principle, Ramji, what's the principle here, Ramji? Too much has gone, sir. So please give us the simple crux.
Yeah, I think, Guruji, the principle is that avidya is the root and vidya is the goal. So you are overcoming death through avidya, but that is only a route towards immortality through vidya.
Yes. So what is the principle you adopt in avidya?
You don't expect anything out of it. The actions, you do your actions, which are aimed at the eventual goal of self-realization, but don't get attached to the fruits of that action. And that is the way to final immortality, which will be possible through vidya, which will lead to vidya, which will give you immortality finally.
Right. You're right. So, but what we have said earlier, the principle here is to adopt action as a means to an end. Am I right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So the principle is, if you adopt this principle of means to an end, so if you operate that in the realm of avidya, what do you get? If you do that principle, adopt the principle of operating as a means to an end in the realm of avidya, he says you will conquer death. you will overcome death. Now you adopt the principle of means to an end in the realm of Vidya. What do you get?
Immortality.
Immortality. So he is telling you understood both, but you're operating in the realm of avidya, doing things to get your goal. So in the world, you will attain, or you will overcome death. In the realm of vidya, you will attain immortality.
So I didn't understand that overcoming death, Guruji. What does it mean?
So what it means is when you and I die, I will not be forgotten after death. Relative immortality. That's what it means.
Okay.
Means you have found success and name and fame and all of the success you have created. It doesn't die with you. Great men are never forgotten, even after they are gone, isn't it? So you attain, they leave behind such a treasure. They're not forgotten. It's not history. You remain in their hearts. You are remembered. So you attain immortality relatively. So you found that in that sense, he says you've conquered death, you overcome death. You're never forgotten. But you adopt the same principle of a means to an end in the realm of Vidya. You will attain immortality. I hope this second part of the mantra is clear.
Yeah.
From the worldly sense, you're never forgotten. From the absolute sense, you attain immortality. Because the world has no access to your realm of spiritual experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they don't know what state you reach. So with reference to the world, you have reached that state of immortality, relative immortality. From the absolute sense, you gain moksha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I may take a minute to explain.
Yes, please.
What we used to do in corporate. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So in corporates, there is something called a vision and a strategic overhang. There's an umbrella. Okay. A vision is to reach somewhere. It is a destination. Okay. But operational activities are all done. In some activities you lose, in some activities you gain. Sometimes you tell the people that doesn't matter, you lose. But our objective is to reach somewhere else. Okay. So I think this actually gives a kind of a, for corporate people, it can also make a little bit of sense that you become, if you read the visions of some of the companies, they will be very lofty. They will say that we want to eliminate hunger, we want to have healthy people, those kind of things. But they will take 100 years. They will take maybe 50 years. But day to day, what they will do has to take them towards that. But in the process, they may lose money, they may make money, it doesn't matter. But I think that is also something which we used to say, that as keeping a strategic overhang over your operational activities. That is one I wanted to mention. Second is that whenever we go through mergers and acquisitions, it is a big area of extreme anxiety for people. And people used to come to me if we were going through a merger or an acquisition. They used to come to me as the CEO and tell me, what do you do? I don't know what will happen to my job, what will happen to me. So I used to tell them that just focus on the present and do your job. Okay. If you don't do your job properly, anyway, you lose your job. Okay. If you perform well today, you have a chance of retaining your job, because otherwise, anyway, there's no chance of retaining your job. So I used to tell them that just focus on the present, forget about the past, forget about the results of future, just do your work well. That itself is a big insurance for your future. So I think I was reminded of those two when we were going through this particular mantra.
The principles are relevant, isn't it? Very relevant.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Very relevant. So therefore, so the corporate world is an avidya, sir.
Complete avidya, sir, but all of them are not like that. Like I said last time, most of them are also, they also reach, eventually they reach like me in the end.
Reached vidya. Yeah, perfect, perfect. Thank you, Ramji. Okay. Sai, all okay?
Guruji, a small doubt. We are talking about ignorance versus knowledge. But in ignorance, I mean, the whole knowledge, right, to renounce the fruits, look for a bigger vision, that is all big. I mean, a lot of knowledge is needed while we are in the realm of ignorance. Otherwise, we are just, with that ignorance, we are doing something, so that itself is knowledge, right? I mean, even when we are saying we are in ignorant, I am ignorant, I don't know this knowledge, or I don't have this, I have not understood this knowledge. So being in ignorance, I'm doing something, out of my own little understanding. So I stay in it, right? The whole, I mean, I get stuck in it.
I'm sorry. Could you come again? I don't understand the
What
context.
I'm saying is ignorance. I am in the realm of ignorance. I don't have this. I don't have the right knowledge on how to perform the actions.
Okay.
So once I have this knowledge, let's say I understood that knowledge, I'm already in the realm of knowledge.
Yes.
So being in ignorance, if I keep performing the actions, I may never get to the realm of knowledge.
Okay. So what are you saying?
So I remain in the field of ignorance on and on. So how to get to the realm of knowledge? I mean, once we get to the realm of knowledge, only I can perform the actions in the right spirit, is what my understanding is.
Absolutely. And that, yes, the transition between leaving the realm of ignorance and coming to the realm of knowledge is a constant process, isn't it? It's not that one day the whole knowledge can be transmitted and then formatted, and suddenly I'll reboot my whole system and operate. I'm talking in IT terms, correct?
Yes.
You can't do that kind of rebooting and thing. So the transition, the process of getting established in this wisdom, it takes time. This process, and we, as Ramji was saying, there's a process. You may go through ups and downs, but if your vision is that I want to get established and anchored in this eternal wisdom, this so profound wisdom, I want to get myself firmly rooted so that my actions stem from there. So if your journey is towards that, it's a matter of time. You will reach there. But at every stage, there is an element of ignorance. There's something you have to undo, and there's certain things you have to learn. That's a constant process. And right now, you're going through the process of gaining vidya, isn't it? Right now, we are learning. But whatever actions you have performed in avidya, you have to face consequences. Remember that. We can't escape it, isn't it? So the sooner we come to vidya, the better for us, isn't it? All right. Does it answer, Hi?
Yes, Guru. Through actions, through knowledge, through thinking, reflecting, all lead to that space.
Absolutely, absolutely. The truth has been said. The masters have spoken it. Now what I do after that is up to me. Whether I don't think about it or I ponder and reflect over it, the choice is mine. If I ponder and reflect, then it becomes, I get established in Vidya. So what are your thoughts rest of the day? Example, let's say you began your day with these thoughts. How many times in the day would you recollect or recap these thoughts? Would you create a window where you sit half an hour and at least you would pen these thoughts again? Would you be able to do that for yourself? If you are able to do that, I think you will do wonderfully well to reiterate the thoughts. Let's in the evening, 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, you get up and you say, let me sit half an hour and just jot down my notes, what I've heard this morning. Let me take that reference of what I studied this morning. That's a wonderful reflection. And to do that same thing tomorrow morning. What we were told is after you hear a lecture, the next study session, let's say if you have a morning lecture, the next study session is afternoon for us, ideally. Make sure the next afternoon session, you sit with what you heard, that early morning. And if you don't clinch it in the next study session, if you say, oh, let me sit after a day or two, you've lost it. It's gone. So you want to grasp what has been said. Ensure, let's say if it's an evening lecture, next morning you sit with it. If it's a morning lecture, the next study session, that is when you consolidate. And that's what we're saying. If you don't consolidate as a student, that opportunity to get established in Vidya is lost. You quickly go back to the realm of avidya, ignorance. You still operate in the same realm of knowing. You get what I'm saying? So that tip, Sai, will be very helpful to consolidate the learning in the next study opportunity. It may be a busy day, but if you're able to take out that half an hour for yourself and say, let me recap, you will do it will go a long way. Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. We'll come back. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om.